You're listening to Artworkers with Carl Bindman. That's me. For this episode, I am delighted to be joined by New York City-based actor Rachel Lin. In our conversation, we talk about the show I Want a Unicorn Frap, currently playing at The Tank until the 21st of June, in which she stars, to which I strongly recommend getting a ticket. Her one-woman show, Dear John, which played at the Here Arts Center earlier this year, the theatrical landscape in New York of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and a little bit about our shared and differing experiences of coming to America from somewhere else. Over to you, Carl.
Just FYI, it's actually Unicorn Frap. Catherine Weingarten would be upset to hear you say frappe.
I'm upset. I'm upset to hear. Okay, but I will respect the author's intention.
Yeah, it was a big conversation day one of rehearsal, so lots of people almost walked out.
I believe it. Were you one of them?
No, but I also did think it was pronounced frappe, but I say it so often that I'm glad it's not frappe, because one syllable is a lot easier to say over and over again than two.
Yeah, but frap is a hard thing to end on. I feel like it's the p takes a lot of energy out of the sentence.
That's true. They were right away. They were just actually Fernando Gonzalez, who plays Sebastian, was how do you pronounce that? Even before we read it once. And then they were just said frap. And then I never got to even try it with frappe. So,
damn. Well, this can be a safe space for that if you want. but also maybe we should not. I will say it's more culturally authentic for me coming from Montreal, to say it the French way. But yeah, should we jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for listening to me introduce the podcast but a mere moment ago. And here we are. I am so stoked, actually, today to have Rachel Lin as our guest. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Carl.
So I met Rachel. Well, I don't know why I always start my podcast this way, but maybe I'll throw it to you. How do we know each other?
We met in a class over one weekend, a class about Shakespeare.
Yeah, with Jeffrey Brumlick and
Kate Seipert.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but that's how it looks.
Yeah, nor I. Yeah, and it was a Shakespeare intensive, and I remembered you from the class afterwards because your work was so good. I know that's not the point of class. The point of class is to learn and to grow. But there is, I think, for me at least, a little bit of okay, who are these other actors here? Who do I want to work with here? And I was like, Rachel is so amazing. And it was less of a I want to work with you because I feel like I do, but also you're doing things that are I think at such a high level. And it's give me 10 years and then I think I can play with you in the space.
Oh, that's really kind to say that about my work in that class. Yeah, it was such a fun class and I'd love to work together too. It'd be so fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we will at some point. I hope so. But I just saw your work. I've seen a lot of your work actually, because I saw your work in that class, which was, as we've covered extensively. And then your one-person show, Dear John, which was recently at the Here Arts Center, but you started developing that in 2021, right?
Actually, I started writing it in 2019, but the first time we did a public workshop, was in 2021. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something we'll talk about. And then just the other day in I Want a Unicorn Frap. Correct,
yes. Spelled frappe to some, but pronounced frap in this production.
Yeah. Which, send in notes, send in thoughts about that. But yeah, so it's been a little kick for me of seeing your different modes. And I guess it makes sense to start with Unicorn Frap because that's what's up right now. People can go see it and they should. Mm-hmm. And you play the main character, Jenny. And for folks who haven't seen it, It's a lot of fun. You should. But do you want to tell me a little bit about Jenny, just as a character in your view?
Yeah, well, what I'll say about I Want a Unicorn Frap is the biggest thing that stands out to me about this piece is the voice of the writer. The language is so specific, so I can't really think about the character without addressing that this is very much a Catherine Weingarten play. And if you know anything about Catherine Weingarten, which you may or may not, she's just has a very specific way of writing. So that's the main thing. But in general, Jenny is a bride to be. She's engaged and she is psyched about it. And she is so excited to get married. And over the course of the play, she becomes addicted to the Starbucks novelty drink, the Unicorn Frap.
And it has like hallucinogenic effects almost on...
She drinks a lot of them, yeah. And the real drink is actually 72 grams of sugar per serving. So if you drink more than one, I think you've had like 200% of your daily recommended amount of sugar.
Wait, so it is a real drink?
Oh, yes, it's a real drink. And it did get released for 4 days only at Starbucks, like in 2016 or 17. Only 4 days. But the big news, you're hearing it here first, folks, and maybe not. Maybe you've seen it on social media, but they are re-releasing the Unicorn Frap this summer, and they won't tell us when, but it shall be available again for limited
how many
time.
days?
We don't know. Maybe 1, maybe 3.
Okay. Because, yeah, 2016 was 10 years ago. Is it for the 10-year anniversary?
Maybe, yeah. They just actually did in the most recent Coachella, they like released it only for Coachella audiences. And I think, people freaked out. So it is a real drink. And I don't know what it tastes like, but it is mango based.
Oh, well, I'm allergic to mango. So I guess that's the end of my relationship with the Unicorn Frap. Although if we're not talking about the show and we're just talking about the drink as it exists in the real world, can we say frappe?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. This is an important distinction. This is helpful. This is helpful for going forward in the world. But yeah, so Jenny in the show and the language you touch on, like to give a sense for folks, like a lot of I don't know if there's a better way to call it, but like Tumblr speak a little bit of like online girl coded, very excited, very, very specific. And like, there's something about the like childishness of the kind of like saying duh instead of the, or like excited, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, that has a tension with the material of the play, right? Which is this woman who's in a bad relationship, who is engaged to a shitty guy and struggling with her life, really. How do you approach that? How do you feel about like the tension in the language with the content?
I mean, it was a lot of conversations about calibration and how much darkness we wanted to allow in. And the director's impulse was to say, well, as much lightness as possible because the situation itself is dark. And so trying to really create that balance, the journey to the end. So it was a matter really of like calibrating the emotional stuff, but also energy. She is drinking a drink that makes you hyper. So it is a long time to sustain this like high intensity energy. And so those were the conversations we had about it. Yeah. So, he asked me to lean in as much to her hope as possible. And I think she has a lot of hope. And it really rung true to me. I mean, I've been in relationships where you like the person so much that you rationalize your way, and in an imbalanced relationship, you can rationalize your way out of their behavior when it's not that great toward you. Definitely have been there.
And she's so fixated on marriage as a goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is not an unreal situation to me. I think about during the pandemic, early COVID, when like all these articles were coming about like I can't even remember, but like I think people had a time to like slow down and think about the systems that we live within. And when you peel back the, surface, you're like, oh wow, we live in a system that hates women. And I feel like a lot of that came up for me during the pandemic, and just, peeling back a lot of things about, oh yeah, this system isn't built to serve us. Like gynecology is a science centered around the female anatomy created by a man, and so, yeah, how do we contend with that? And in Jenny's case, it's by, live, laugh, laughing. And, she hasn't really, I'm just think of her as somebody who hasn't seen the light yet in terms of like, or who isn't so interested in thinking about that. She doesn't have options. She only thinks she has one way to go, which is marriage.
Two thoughts come up to me about that, which is A, yes, super true. I mean, even in like the thing about girl-coded online presence being read as something less serious than like mask-coded online presence, where it's like, oh no, we're serious, we're talking about Rome, dude. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, go fuck yourself, as if the lives of women are somehow less serious or interesting, And then B, in the play, I think there is something kind of unnerving about, if we want to call Jenny kind of like not yet having had a feminist awakening. Well, do you feel like that's a fair thing to say about her? I just threw that out, and I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. I think in a way, I think that's not where she's been looking. Yeah, I think she doesn't know what she doesn't know. So, I think she's been living in kind of one mode and surrounded by the same kind of people.
Yeah, but even there, when she looks for kind of a way out, or when a way out is presented to her, it comes from the prince, right?
Yeah.
What did you, as an actor, feel about like, how do I make Jenny's character? Well, I guess I don't know what my question is really clearly, but like the fact that her journey of away from a guy, the vehicle for that is an imagined guy. What is that for you?
Oh, I think to me it's the drink, and it manifests as the guy. Like, I think she's really addicted to the substance, which to me also rings true. The addiction to, not obviously there are the obvious ones like substances, but also things like work, things like ways of thinking. So to me, I just married, and the need to escape, right? I think of him as the need to escape. So I didn't really think of it so much as like, oh, another relationship, because the way it's written, they don't even really like, develop the relationship. She's just like, oh, somebody's being nice to me. Wow. Like, I didn't know. She says, there's a line where she says, nobody's ever been so nice. No guy has ever been so nice to me before. And so I think of him really more as an escape, a whole different world where men are nice to you, Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. So I guess my short answer is I haven't really thought about, I don't really think of him that way, and I haven't like put my mind around that. I'm really more concerned with like the immediate effect.
Well, it's strange. I feel a little strange asking you these questions about a character that you're currently playing. Because I know when I'm working on something and people, like after a show, I always find it so difficult when people want to talk to me about the work. Like, I don't know if you feel this way, but the gauntlet of like, oh my God, congratulations, when the show is done and you're leaving, I find that so difficult because I don't know what to say. I just said it all. I just did the show, guys. That's what I did for you. But I'm also a misanthrope, so maybe that is not how you feel. But yeah, so is this the sort of thing that you just kind of don't think about until the show is done, or do you just not ever worry about these things and let the piece speak for itself, and your work is just as an actor? Like,
Yeah, I try not to think too much about like the holistic. That's not true. I mean, I do think about what the play is trying to say. I try to understand it. What I like about this piece is it's not super straightforward. Like it's not really and people have said this, where does she go at the end? We don't really know, and like there's no it's not like preachy or messagey in any kind of way. So for this piece in particular, that wasn't a lot of the conversation. Like we didn't actually have as a cast say, oh, what is the vehicle we are all getting into, right? It was really like, okay, let's try to get on this ride and see where it goes. And I kind of like that about this process because it relieves me a little bit. And I just have to like try to be this character and make her as, close to like relatable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there is a trap almost that I fall into a lot of like, oh, well, so I think because she is having just as fantastic a relationship with the prince as she is with her fiance, and it's like they're both kind of this fake thing that she's talking to, and it's like, okay, but how does that actually help you perform in the moment?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And
right?
if I'm thinking about it now, I mean, the fact that, she disappears is like and goes off with the prince. I think the thing is like he's not real either. So like there is actually no world in which leaving with a man or like pinning everything on a man is the answer. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm literally just thinking about that in real time right now. Wow. So thank you, Carl, for helping me get there.
You're so welcome. I can dig a step further too, which is that not what marriage is? Would that not be, if she did marry Sebastian, would she also not kind of disappear from these people's lives in a substantial way?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's no good option for this woman that is pinned to a man in the world that she's living in.
Yeah, which is so effective, I think, in your performance, in everybody's performance and the direction from Alex of like, keep it light, keep it light, keep it light, there is this feeling it's a bad situation for everybody. And they're all just dancing so they don't fucking collapse into the hole that's opened up underneath them. It was a stressful, really fun watch. So that's
good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I feel like I should ask as talking to somebody who's currently working on the thing is like, imagine we're Johnny Carson and somebody on Johnny Carson. I don't know. Any fun stories from the set?
Any fun stories from the set? I mean, any fun stories from the set? That's a good question. We just all love each other. I mean, it's fun. The fun stories are like we all get along. Before every show, we all dance to Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen as a cast. We blast it and we dance in the theater before every single show. So I don't know if that's funny, but yeah, we just have a good time. And like the first time we saw the giant fraps, that was pretty funny. But you'll have to come see the show to see the size of frap that Jenny ends up going away with.
Kind of just all of the gestures in terms of design I thought were really strong. Like subtle, small things that grow and sort of with her state deteriorating also get more and more kind of crazy. Just so fun. Like the way you kept pulling things out from behind the facade there in the back. Like, yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I would say like the one thing that Alex did an amazing job at is assembling the team. And like when they offered me the role, I said, why? I said, why me? I really didn't know because I had done a reading of this play in 2020. We did it on Zoom just one day. Casual, cold. I had never read it before for Catherine. I forgot about it. I mean, it was 6 years ago, and I'm very used to being, projects going up and then reading who's in it. That's such a common experience. But they were like, "Yeah, you," and I was like, "Okay, interesting." So
why do you think they chose you?
I mean, they said that. He was like, "Oh, you got the language, and you got the comedy, the language, and you also got the darkness. So I was like, okay, great. Because on the page, it's really hard to tell what the tone is, right? We had a lot of conversations about, how grounded the world is, how real the world is. And Alex said, I'm going to get a great team. And I said, okay, I trust you. I trust Alex. And he did. He got a great team.
It's really great. I think people should go see it. That's my, it runs until the 18th?
21st.
21st. Okay. I don't know when this will be out, but definitely before then. So
cool. Great. I'm sure they'll love to be promoted too. They'll be happy about that.
And use ArtWorkers20 for 20% off. No, I feel good with what we've talked about with Unicorn Frap. Are there any kind of last thoughts you want to share about the process, about the project, about your work on it before we pivot?
No, I think you got it. I'm really seeing that journalism degree coming out.
Wow. There it is. I in like 20 years, if I'm still doing this podcast, which Jesus, and it has a substantial audience, which Jesus, I can imagine there being like a bingo card for my tics that I would mention every episode. One of them, yeah, I had a journalism degree. The other, I'm from Montreal. So I think we've hit 2 of them. It would be cheating to just list the others right now, right? I can't do that. Oh, talking too much, I think, is one.
It's more fun for us to find them. Yeah, you can like make it a game, listen to all the episodes, and drink when it happens.
Oh my God, I can do that. Let's get sloshed at 10:30, Rachel. With Alfredo, is that his name?
Oh, shh. That's a secret. Yes, his name is Alfredo. Allegedly. Maybe he has a fake name. I think everybody who works at that bar has a modeling agent. Like, all the guys at the front were so fucking hot. I know.
There's that other one. Like, oh my God.
Beautiful Italians.
Ugh, that's my type. All right. Dear John. Let's talk about Dear John, because I also saw your work in that, and I thought it was a delightful project. Do you want to give the pitch, or should I tell the people what the show is?
I can do the pitch. Yeah.
Okay. 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
I think I can do it. Dear John is an autobiography. One more time.
Yeah,
Dear
restart
John.
The clock.
It's an autobiographical solo show about how I didn't know my dad growing up. And when I was 23, he Facebook messaged me. And then he started writing me letters. And I didn't respond to the letters for 5 years until he wrote that he was really sick. So I bought a ticket to London and I met him for the first time. And I talk about my mom's immigration story and also growing up undocumented in New York in the late 90s, early 2000s.
So it was at the Here Arts Center most recently, but it's been in development for a minute, right? I don't know if this was on air or off air, but you said since 2019, 2018?
Yeah, I started writing it in 2019. Yes.
What was the impetus for that?
Well, I met him, my father, I guess it was 2017. And as I was on the plane ride to meet him for the first time, it was also my first time going back to England, where I was born, since moving to America at the age of 8. So on the plane, I was like, I think this is an interesting story. I think I could make this into something. And so I was like planted in my head. And then I applied for a residency like a year later, or maybe even that year. And I got it. And it was a 1-year residency that gave me space to like use. And so at the end of that 1 year, I wrote a draft, the first draft, and I read it out loud to just friends. In 2019.
In the project, you quote or reference a prompt from Anna Deavere Smith, right?
Ooh, what is it?
So it's one of the, I think, and tell me if this is like authentic audio from when you were in school, from university, where you were interviewing your mother about her experience. And you said in the show that it was like an Anna Deavere Smith prompt.
Yeah. That's right.
So that's, and it was that audio actually from your NYU experience?
Oh, wow, such good listening. It was after NYU, but it was a project that was an interview-based, like monologue making project. It was called Motherline, and it was done by Eliza Simpson, and it was very Anna Devere Smith-like. And we just went and interviewed our moms. So yeah, that audio that I use in the show is from 2016. It's not for Dear John, and I just had it lying around. So I had recorded it before I went to England. Before the project had ever was ever a project in my mind. It was just some audio, and I didn't even use it for this thing that I did with Eliza.
I'm curious because like, how do you take your personal experience and turn it into art, safely and responsibly? I guess is because it's something I always struggle with as an artist, as an actor. Is I'm terrified of like actually being myself, and I'm working on it, but. To make a project that is literally, this is me. How did you go about doing that in a way that felt good for you? Because looking at it, it felt good for me watching it. You keep returning to it. I think it feels good for you to do. So like, how did you make that?
Yeah. Starting, it was very difficult. Like, it's hard to say, I'm going to make a show that's deeply personal to me, very revealing in so many ways. Writing anything, but let alone like an autobiographical story, was very scary. So I met with a friend, Vichet Chum, who had written a solo show recently. And he said, well, I named the character not my name. And I was like, oh, great. Okay, yeah. So the character in my show is you, like you, the pronoun, Y-O-U. Is you a pronoun? I don't know, actually. I didn't want it to feel like therapy. That's one of my big things is like, I think art needs to be processed, or I don't know about needs, but I wanted, the audience to me is really primary in the making of a solo show. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about, okay, how do I engage them and make them a necessary part of the experience of the story?
One of the ways you did that was with like the audience prompts for sort of bringing forward these papers and unfolding them on the projector.
Yeah, the participation, which actually was only in the latest iteration. In a previous iteration, they were reading. They did get envelopes, but I wanted them to have some version of the experience that I had. That was really important, of like somebody reaching out to you, like the surprise of getting stuff in the mail. I think the experience of getting stuff in the mail can be really fun, but also scary when it matters to you, right? And so...
Yeah. And also this kind of imposition to perform a little bit, where it's like, oh, I've received this mail. I've been cast as a role to play for you so that this story can happen, which is kind of like your experience with your father, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, spent a lot of time developing. That was an experiment for this version of the show. And I think it actually went really well and made this version, the show you saw, really, it felt collaborative with the audience and for a solo show that was not an articulate sentence, but
hey, it's the morning.
Yeah.
Well, for me, something I felt really enchanted by with it, apart from the very strong work and the writing and the performance and the texture of it, is just the thing about like the one-man show, the look back, the time-specific things of the late 90s, early 2000s. I feel like I haven't seen those cultural touchstones staged so, what's the word? Materially? I don't know. There's probably a less flu way of saying this, but like, to see the touchstones of my own childhood and sort of like the culture I grew up with and the time I grew up in also reflected on stage in that way, I felt like was a new experience for me. My association with those kinds of things is like, oh, it's like the 80s or whatever. Who gives a shit about the 80s? They're all 40. They all voted for Trump. Who gives a shit? But like the 90s onward is like, oh, hey, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the early, this is my origin a little bit. I'm from Montreal. I'm not from New York. But why was it so important to you to have all of these physical reminders of the time in the play?
I mean, I guess that means we're old now, Carl. Our childhoods, our youths are a period piece now.
Yeah. It means we're winning.
It's historical. I think because, I mean, it's a coming of age story, and so I think specificity around like that part of growing up felt really important to me. When you say material things, what do you mean? Like props?
Like, yeah, the props, in particular, the thing I think that really, really tickled me positively was the slide projector. Not the slide projector, the whatever you call that, the lamp with the thing that used to be in schools and now isn't anymore. What is that called?
Oh, yeah, the projector. Yeah. We had a slide projector, but are you thinking about like one of these projectors, a transparency, like a...
Yeah, a transparency with like the...
Okay, yeah. Yes, you're thinking about the doc cam. Yeah. That's actually a modern version. It's a document camera. So it's like I got it during the pandemic to tutor students because I'm a tutor. I tutor the SATs. And so like
Sebastian.
Just like Sebastian, I know. I'm actually, yeah, exactly. I'm closer to Sebastian than I am to Jenny in real life, possibly. But that's a horrible thing to say because he's not.
I felt so much kinship with him as an actor, as a permanently shiftless, underemployed creature. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And having to explain why you're busy all the time to your partner.
Yeah. Even though it's like, okay, then where's the fucking money, asshole? Like, that's how I feel about myself. That's not what Nora says to me. But,
Yeah. I was going to ask you about your marriage, having seen that. I feel like, how do you relate to any of the stuff about marriage?
I think I relate to, I think more a feeling of inadequacy being like Sebastian more than a reality. Because, I cook, I clean. It's 2026, Rachel.
And you care about your partner, I'm sure.
And I care about my partner a lot, actually. But the element of like, oh yeah, of being too busy doing kind of bullshit, and then of not necessarily feeling equipped to necessarily tackle every problem the way that I want to, and then retreating from them felt well observed. Like I think all the characters are really well observed and drawn with care, even if they are kind of heightened and satirical in a way. It's a great play. It's a great play.
Sorry, we're talking about the document camera. Yeah, the document camera. So it's just something I had.
I'm going to cut you off. I'm so sorry because I don't want to lose this thought, which is that not the lie of nostalgia for me to see this thing that is a modern version of an older thing and then to be so taken by it that I think this is what the old thing actually was when this new one is actually so much better and more useful.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wow, that's dramaturgy. Wow. Good job, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a show that's about digital media, right? Because he reached out to me on Facebook. So that kind of was the framework the whole time. So it's just like, how do we get these messages up? Well, we need a projector. People have always been like, do you want to take the show to Edinburgh? And I'm like, I could think about that. But my show has 300 cues with lights and sounds, and projection. The projection is crazy. So I had this document camera lying around, and in November I did a workshop of this play at New York Theater Workshop, and it was the first time I was working with my director Tara Elliott, and it was the first time I was working with my design team, my projectionist Ein Kim. So I brought this thing in, and I said, "Do you think we can use it?" And we just started playing with it as like a team, and my set designer Joyce. I don't know where I'm going with this thought.
About playing with it and finding sort of how to incorporate this thing into the piece. Digital media, physical media, the link between them.
It became a necessary part of the piece. And I guess what I'll say about it is like the same, and it's kind of in the same vein as the audio recording I did in 2016. And, my dad's letters, because in the show I read his letters. What was important?
So wild. I can't imagine getting a letter like that. Oh my God.
They're pretty funny. And so when I was receiving the letters too, I would like laugh reading them because I thought they were just so funny. And I was like, I need to like share these somehow. Dads are just hilarious and strange creatures, especially I think of a certain age. But like I like limitation. I liked the limitation of people were like, why don't you just record an interview with your mom now with the intention of using it for the show? And it would open a whole new can of worms. I wanted to see like, okay, can I use just materials I have in my house to build this? Can I use just the messages as they are, the letters as they are, the audio as it is to create something? Because we're immigrants and it's an immigrant story. And so much of the experience of being an immigrant is just using what you have to make something better. You know,
Yeah.
it's an practice of the imagination.
And I think like a lot of gestures in the show really reinforced that for me. And just hearing you talk about like all these objects and all the limitations that you invited, the accumulation on the wall of like, I've used the thing and then I put it on the wall, and I've used the thing and I put it on the wall. I feel like also it's really true to kind of just how our lives go. And yeah, this notion of, well, I'll just get a new thing and I'll replace it. I'll record my mom now. That would kill that story.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when I was really young, like a kid, I had just moved to America, I was having a really hard time. But the one thing as I grew older, I was like, well, you have a superpower, which is you know what it's like to let go of everything. Like you don't need anything like physical stuff. So I was like, I could have nothing, you know. And I think that's how come I became an actor, how it became possible to become an actor, because in some ways I was resigning myself to a life where, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I could end up with nothing, but I've already been there. I've already had nothing. So, and I know what that's like. And
Yeah.
it wasn't amazing, but it was okay. I survived. And so, you know, I say that in relationship to all the stuff on stage. So I think that's an interesting dichotomy, is just like my mom is kind of a hoarder, and I think that's how it manifested in her. So a lot of the stuff in the play is actually from her basement. Like I went with my set designer and we just like went through boxes of stuff, and Joyce was like, okay, I'll take that. And then she like hot glue gun stuff to like tarps and stuff. Yeah, just this show has tons of shit in it, and I've always been like, I want to make the really lean version, but somehow when I'm telling the story of like growing up, just stuff accumulates. It's like so much stuff.
And I think the willingness to honor that and to lean into that on stage makes it so textured and rich. Like I don't know, I'm really pleased talking with you about this, because so many of the things that I felt are like, oh, so clearly reflected in your process of putting this together. So growing up as an immigrant, I mean, I'm also an immigrant. I'm not allowed to say I'm an immigrant because I'm on a non-immigrant visa. So I'm not an immigrant. I'm a non-resident alien, but I'm a resident for tax purposes. But you know what? Hey, let's not even fucking worry about it. You grew up undocumented, and I am documented, and it is not great. You know, I think the immigration experience in the States has always been difficult. For a variety of reasons. It's made difficult. It's made to make us feel bad and unwanted. And for me, this has an effect on, I think, just my ability to participate and express myself in society and in culture. I feel like I look at how I lived in Montreal and I look at how I live here, and I feel like I, in some ways, have grown and other ways have shrunk. You know, I used to be very involved in politics. I worked for an election campaign. I would go to protests and get chased by the cops. And here it's like the stakes are so much higher, where it's like if I go to a protest and things go badly, I'm out of here. Goodbye, life. And for me, it's a source of resistance and obstruction to my work. And I get the feeling that is not necessarily the case for you. Maybe because you've been here for so much longer than I have, and also are now documented. But like, what is your feeling about the impact on your work that the immigration system has had, if there is one even?
Yeah. Well, first I just want to say, like, I'm really sorry, you know, that you have to have this experience right now. And I really empathize. Like, I can't imagine how difficult it is, and I look at the climate that we are living in today around immigration, and it is so much scarier and darker than it was when I was a kid, even though it was scary and dark then. I was a young child, and you're right, this immigration system in this country, for as long as I've been alive, like, in the past, I guess, 50, 60 years, has been made difficult for certain populations. But in the last few years, for reasons I'm sure we are all familiar with, it's become, it's become like terror, like a terror dome.
And I have it easy as these things go. I'm a white Canadian, and like, even so, it's misery. God damn. Anyway.
Yeah. So actually, as I was writing, like as I was about to go into production for this last production of the show, because when I started it was a different administration, and then I did have fears around writing this because I didn't want to expose anybody, in my life. But this most recent iteration under this current administration, I had a conversation with my director about, I don't want people to think that I am like somehow making my experience equal to the current experience, because the current experience is so bad and I don't have any illusions about that. But it's just a different story. And I think everyone's story, your story, as opposed to somebody else from a different place, they're different, but they're all like valuable,
Well, I think valuable, especially because there is so much pressure on like, anti-immigration sentiment, yada, 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 yada. But it's like, we're all fucking immigrants, guys. Holy shit,
Yeah,
yeah.
And I don't even mean to say the word valuable. I mean like worthy of being told, I guess. But
that's what I mean. It's like valuable to be told, to say loudly, hey, we are here. Undocumented people are all around you. Maybe they are documented now, but like it is part of the essential fabric of the country. And these lives are part of the story that we all live in New York, everywhere in the country. So like, I not to be like, it's an important story, because it is at the end of the day just a story, but it's a fucking important story. And I think like, good for you and good for me that you shared it, because I got to be like, yes, okay, immigrant solidarity. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I think growing up, I hadn't seen any stories that talked about that. I mean, even though it was I'm putting in air quotes, less scary time, it was still a very scary time. And I think undocumented people are like, we are told not to be seen. We're told to hide. I was told at a very young age, don't answer questions about where I live to my teachers. Don't tell people how I came here. All of that stuff. And I didn't really understand it, but I was living in fear. In the play, I talk about this, which is like, when I moved here, I was living in my grandparents' basement, like very, very physical manifestation of maybe like what was happening psychologically for me. So did it have an effect on me? Absolutely. And in a lot of ways, like, that's why I ended up in the theater. I didn't feel like I had a home because I was taken away. I really idealized living in the UK, my childhood in the UK. And when I came here, so much changed. And so the theater ended up being a safe space, and then like a space to be seen in a safe way, because I wasn't myself and I wasn't telling my story. I was telling like, you're a good man, Charlie Brown. I was telling Lucy Van Pelt's story, and I could be badly behaved and it was okay on stage. And in the same way that like it was a safe space for me to be at home, my mother told me that I couldn't go to school for acting. I couldn't become an actor. And so then it also became a safe space for me to rebel and like take out all of my resentment for, coming to America on her. So I think somehow this very visible career I chose is definitely a result of having that undocumented childhood.
I was going to ask, and I was glad that you touched on it. It's like, okay, and then you chose a very visible path. Do you still have like this feeling of unplaceness? There's maybe a better word, but like, do you feel like I am grounded and rooted here?
Yes, I do feel that way, but I also, well, actually, here's what I'll say is I'm the kind of person who goes anywhere and is like, oh, I should move here. So I go to places and then they suddenly feel like they should be my home. And so I don't know if that's kind of like the photo negative of this like displacement now. Now I just like love other places and want to live there. So I guess the short answer is yes, I do feel grounded here, but not because of the place, probably because of the community, you know. The people, I want to be around these people.
Yeah.
And I'm not so attached to the physical place.
Yeah. I think maybe this is the last thing I'll throw at you, which is like thinking about the history of the American theater, driven by immigrants. You know, like all of the big ideas are from folks from elsewhere. A lot of the major teachers are immigrants, either first generation or second generation. Like it is. I mean, setting aside the kind of facile thing of like America is a country of immigrants, which is true and is trivial, but like the innovators in the theater have been largely historically foreigners, and that's good. And I look at your career, and my feeling is like I'm like maybe one generation after you in terms of like the companies and the timing. But like, you know, I know you work with the Ensemble Studio Theater. I know you've worked with Fiasco. I know you've worked with. Am I hallucinating to say that you've worked with Labyrinth?
No, but I do love them. But no, I've never worked with Labyrinth.
But at the Flea and like your New York Theater Workshop fellow recently, and I feel like your resume is this wonderful document almost of like a kind of theater career that I look at the industry now and I'm like, where is that for me? Because a lot of these companies, I think they are, because of extremely challenging financial situations after COVID and the ongoing decimation of the arts and, you know, the long fallout of the crash in 2008. Like, it's just, there is constant chipping away at the ecosystem of the arts in the city and the theater in the city. And I'm curious to get your thoughts or your experience on like navigating the industry and the system that existed versus the one that exists now. Like, looking at the landscape for, say, if you were graduating from NYU today, what would you feel is like, where do I go?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question. I mean, you know, the reason some of these places don't exist, like the Flea and like Williamstown Apprentice program, is that they were problematic, right? They were in terms of that, you know, you were providing labor that wasn't compensated, but at the same time they gave education, like they were educational opportunities. So I do stand by like what I learned during my time there. And I think it's also trickled down, right? So like looking at the landscape of theater today, we have celebrities, movie stars doing Broadway plays, which means that big name theater actors are taking smaller parts or working off Broadway, which means that, you know, people have been working in this industry for a long time are working off, or even in like very indie spaces. But for somebody graduating from NYU today, I would say the opportunity is still there. We don't know their name. Like when Ensemble Studio Theater started, it was very easy to join because it was just a group of people who were friends who decided to like be in a space together and make work together. And that's still happening now. I'm sure actually you do know their names, and maybe I don't because I'm old, but there's lots of indie theater makers. And yeah, they make in theater not downtown now. They make them in the boroughs in Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island, wherever. But there's lots of exciting work being made by young people. And those are the people who are going to become Fiasco, who are going to become, you know, Ensemble Studio Theater in 10, 20 years, who are going to become Pipeline, Ars Nova. So what I always say is just look around, because you're doing it, like making a podcast, you're doing it by writing something, you're doing it by getting in a rehearsal studio and inviting your friends. And I think some of the most exciting work that's being made right now is outside of institutions. Institutions are so dusty, and to get into an institution today, you have to have like nobody really new is coming in through an institution that I know of. Especially, I don't have a master's degree, so like when I go to see a play, I look at the bios and I'm like, oh yeah, Juilliard, Yale, NYU grad, right? It's all kind of in the same machine. So I think the immigrant impulse of like, well, I have to go outside of the machine, and that's great because I'd rather be in a garden than a factory, you know?
What a good fucking sentence. Yeah. I think the playbill check is something. So when after your show over the weekend, when I went out for drinks with you guys, and you were talking about some of the Broadway shows that are on, and I was kind of doing the thing of like nod and smile so that people think you know what's going on. But I actually didn't know the names of the shows you were talking about. I was like, oh, yeah. But you know, don't mind my social hangups. But I think I do feel kind of alienated from, I mean, Broadway in particular. Hey, if any fucking Broadway producers want to cast me, please do. I love you guys. But like I do feel kind of indifferent and alienated to a lot of the work happening at the highest levels because I do have this feeling of like, it's not for me. This machine is not going to bring me into it and doesn't actually want me to be a part of it, which is an odd feeling to feel looking at the highest levels of the industry that I'm in. But maybe that's just how it always feels until you are at those levels. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because I'm not there either. But, you know, I have a similar feeling oftentimes. Like very infrequently will buy a ticket to a Broadway show unless there's somebody or something about it that I'm really, really drawn to. But I make it a priority to support work of artists and kinds of artists that I think should be making work. And so I'm not a citizen, so I can't vote. So the only way I can vote is with my money and where I spend it. And so,
wait,
yeah.
I couldn't vote for Zoran 5 times? Fuck. My mail-in ballot from New Jersey won't count?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I just try not to pay too much attention to what's happening, like not in spaces that feel welcoming to me. And I think that institutions should, or I don't know, they can do whatever they want. No shoulds.
And they
no
will.
Shoulds.
They certainly will.
Yeah. And that's why I feel passionately about making Dear John and giving Dear John a life, is because when growing up, I never felt like anybody thought about me when they were making work. So I just wanted to make a piece that thought about a young version of myself, an immigrant kid growing up with a single mom. Like I wanted that person to feel like they had a space and a story that reflected them.
And we should, I think, also at this point shout out the Tank.
Oh, yeah. Let's shout out the Tank.
Because, you know, that's where Unicorn Frap is at. And that is a place where they are so invested in making stuff and providing space for artists to try shit and find their space. Like, I think.
And the Tank really means it, too. I think a lot of places are like, yeah, you can do stuff here. But no, the Tank is like, you don't actually have to pay. You can do a box office split. They do a lot of work. You know, you can do something for one night. Megan Finn used to be my neighbor, so shout out Megan Finn. She's cool. She's the artistic director of the Tank. And yeah, listen, making theater is hard. Even doing this show now, you know, getting audience, people to come. There's so much happening in the world.
Theater and you have a New York Times mention, like.
Oh, yeah. But even that stuff, like, I don't even know if that makes a material difference. I think at the end of the day, it's always word of mouth, and people, like, Dear John didn't get a New York Times mention, but we were able to sell out our second week. And I think it's just like when you make something that matters or is exciting, people will come. And, you know, yeah. So keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Hell yeah. I think that's a really wonderful sentiment to end on. But I like to ask folks before I let them get on with their day. Is there any question that you would have wanted me to ask you, or anything that you would have wanted to share that you didn't have a chance to talk about?
I don't think so. I've been gabbing for an hour.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you, Carl.
And for making work.
Thank you. This was such a thoughtful interview. I can really, nice work.
That's me. Thoughtful to a fault. The note I always get from directors and coaches and stuff is like, you're in your head. And I'm like, I don't know where else to be. I've done so much movement training. How can this still be possible? Look, on my resume, it says viewpoints. Where can people find you? Where can people find your work?
Is Viewpoints on the bingo card? Do you talk about that
No,
one?
it's not.
Okay. Oh, that's a new one. That's an Easter egg for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I'll be
Carl's
like, actually,
done Viewpoints.
I've done Mary Overly Viewpoints as well as Anne Bogart Viewpoints. All right.
Oh my gosh, I studied with Mary.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yo.
All right.
Okay. Well, podcast part 2. We'll have to get into movement modalities.
Mary Overly, what an icon.
Truly. Really one of the sorry, go ahead. I was gonna start a whole fucking tangent.
Go.
No. We need to wrap.
I was answering your question of where can people find me.
Yes.
They can find me on Instagram. I'm at the Rachel Lin. But to be totally transparent, I don't have the app on my phone. I go on the browser because I try not to look at it too much. But
which is correct, which is the correct thing to do.
But I'm around. And you can find me at the Tank doing I Want a Unicorn Frap until June 21st.
Hell yeah. Rachel, thank you so much. I just slapped my table, which probably made a bad sound, so I'm going to take that again. Rachel, thank you so much. Truly a pleasure talking to you, and I'll see you around.
See you around.
Thank you once again for tuning in, and thank you twice again to Rachel Lin for joining me for this episode. This has been Artworkers with Carl Bindman. I am Carl Bindman. Artworkers is produced, hosted, sound designed, and edited by me. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and go see Unicorn Frap if it is still running when you are listening to this. Also, if you're so inclined, a review on your podcast app of choice would not be a bad thing. Thank you to Louie Zong for the use of his song Fragments. And remember, Mars does not have a magnetosphere.